Yo, what's going on, everybody? You're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. We're just going to talk about the latest Knicks news and rumors on today's video by answering questions from subscribers. The Knicks ended up that road trip, 5-game road trip, 3-2. Kind of a rocky ending to it in the game against Minnesota. But you know what? Last game of a 5-game road trip, 3 games in 4 days. Overall, 3-2. Not too upset. First question coming in from my guy, Samir. What up, Samir? Says, is it time to start Donte DiVincenzo over Quentin Grimes? I've been a huge fan of Quentin Grimes, and I've honestly just believed in the player, Quentin Grimes. But I think I'm getting to a point where my eyes aren't lying, and it just feels like Donte DiVincenzo is just a little bit better of a fit in that starting 5. He has better chemistry with Jalen Brunson. I don't want to go too much off of the game on Saturday night because at the end of the day, they were playing the AAU Charlotte Hornets. But I just think DiVincenzo plays a little bit better off ball. I think he's a little bit better of a threat with the ball in his hands, not just to score, but to play make for others. He can initiate pick and rolls, and you have confidence in him to dribble the ball. Whereas with Quentin Grimes, he's more just a catch-and-shoot player at this point. I know he's shown that he can get downhill and dribble drive off the corner. But overall, I just thought the offense flowed a little bit better with Donte DiVincenzo in that starting lineup. Small sample size, only 1 game, 2 games to be fair. But I just thought his ability to be a catch-and-shoot player from not just that left corner, it really helps this team. And I know you're losing a little bit of defense by playing Donte DiVincenzo over Grimes. Grimes is the better defender, but I would start Donte DiVincenzo over Grimes. I would. Brian B says, I know everyone wants a star. I would love to trade for a veteran leader. Who could that be? It's a great question, man. It's a great question. And if I had the answer, I would have done 1,000 videos on it right now. But all the stars that have been linked to the New York Knicks kind of aren't really on the move. Joel Embiid's standing put. I don't really want Zach LaVine. I don't know who you're trading for at this point. You can only trade for somebody if somebody's available. Risky strategy for the Knicks and Leon Rose to gather all these first-round picks and hoping a star becomes available. But how many has he passed on? Passed on Drew Holiday. Passed on Kristaps Porzingis. Passed on Donovan Mitchell. I don't know. I don't know who that guy is. I'd be a really rich man if I did. I really would. We'll get to more questions coming up in a second, but first, make sure you are subscribed to New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. Sub for Knicks Dubs. Free content every day, and the #1 place on YouTube to watch live games. I don't care what anybody else told you. Johnson U says, what's the move with Grimes? Do we move him to the bench, or do we extend him, or no? Well, he's only entering his 3rd season, so he's under contract for this year and next year. He will have his team options picked up. Look, it's a double-edged sword. He needs to be more aggressive, but honestly, he just needs to hit shots too. He's not hitting his shots right now. He's struggling. He is struggling. I understand he's coming off a wrist injury, but look, he's kind of on this floor for 2 reasons. He's on the floor for 2 reasons: to defend and to stretch the floor. And right now, I know he's shooting 36% from 3 this year, but I'm looking at his shot dashboard right now. Outside of the corner 3, he's not making shots. He's just not. Got to be a little bit better. I don't know what to do. I said I wouldn't trade him for a star unless it was for a star. You might need to start making calls and seeing what you can get if you package up Grimes and a couple of players. Because he got dominated by Anthony Edwards, and he was the worst player on the floor for the Knicks in that game against the Timberwolves. We'll get to more questions coming up in a second, but first I got to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS. It's the #1 way to play daily fantasy. All you do is you create a lineup of 2 to 6 players, and you simply just choose more or less on their projected stat total. Create a lineup, 2 to 6 players, choose more or less on their projected stat line. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. Brian, love to see the Knicks move Tibbs to the front offices and get a new coach next year. Which would be the best for this group? I mean, dude, Tibbs can't make shots. I thought Tibbs has done a great job. The Knicks had the number one defense in the NBA coming into this game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm not worried about Tom Thibodeau. I'm not worried about him. Rich Rob says, how many has he passed on for Grimes? I think you're talking about Leon Rose trades. He didn't trade for Paul George because he didn't want to move Quentin Grimes. He didn't trade for Donovan Mitchell because he didn't want to move Quentin Grimes. I'm assuming he didn't want to move him in a trade for Drew Holiday. Look, I'm not saying F Quentin Grimes. I'm not saying Grimes is a bad basketball player. Loved the way he played last year. He's a good defender. Didn't defend well against Anthony Edwards. And you know what? You're not going to shut every star down. But I don't forget the game where he played 48 minutes in the playoffs against the Miami Heat and had Jimmy Butler in handcuffs, hit a couple of big shots. We've seen Grimes play great. Still a young player. Hasn't even played 3 years in the NBA. But the Knicks do need him to be better. They do. Brian, already went to this one. I know everyone wants a star. Yeah, I don't know who it's going to be. Brian. I don't want Cat. You need a wing. And I still think you got to upgrade that power forward position. I don't care what Julius Randle does in November. You'll never win a championship with him. OG says, panic mode, some reason for concern, or bad night all around. No big deal. I know how I feel, but your thoughts. I'm not panicking because of the loss versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are one of the best teams in the NBA right now. I think their length kind of affected the Knicks a little bit. Also, the Knicks just couldn't buy a bucket. I'm not overreacting to this game, but I will say the Knicks have kind of just feasted on a couple of bad teams. I mean, they got to play the Hornets twice. They got to play the Wizards. I'd say some reason for concern. Kind of same questions we had going into the offseason. When we play an elite team, how do we stack up? Minnesota ran you out of the building. So I'd say some reason for concern. Not overreaction, though. I'll go with B and C. Some reason for concern or bad night. Somewhere in the middle of that, OG. Appreciate you always showing love, dog. Jin Misters. Had the Knicks gotten over drafting Frank Ntilikina over Donovan Mitchell and only set back the franchise for a decade? Sure. Sure, man. Are we still talking about the Phil Jackson era? Really? After the Knicks just sent Donovan Mitchell home in the playoffs? Come on, fam. Come on. Grow up and move on. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. We want to continue to bring you guys videos every single day. And more subs equals more videos. That's the rule of Chat Sports. So if you want even more Knicks content than you're getting, help us out. Subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 30K. We'll see you later. Let's go, Knicks.